So whether you're curious about group dynamics, personal growth, or holding space for others, this conversation is going to open up some fascinating perspectives.
I wanted to be a sex therapist in America to get what's called an MFT, like a marriage and family therapy license, with it was called a snuggle party. And being in that container, who were gay and queer and kinky and tantric and seeing like, oh, like I remember going to that event for the first time and I was like, yes, finally this.
Well, how did you deal with the criticism?
And if someone criticizes that, like, I just don't care. I see that there's a spider web of interconnectedness between all the people in the circle. So learning to facilitate in this way is really about learning how to use structure and aliveness and freedom. It's like, and in these moments, it's like, I could die right now. This is just so beautiful.
Love that. Today, I'm excited to sit down with Rachel Rickards, a remarkable facilitator and the founder of The Field. Rachel has the incredible gift for creating what she calls fields of resonance, those powerful spaces where genuine transformation happens. And she brings together practical wisdom and deep spiritual understanding in a way that just makes sense. And this August, she is bringing this magic to Ängsbacka, Sweden. And I can't wait to explore how she creates these transformative experiences. So whether you're curious about group dynamics, personal growth, or holding space for others, this conversation is going to open up some fascinating perspectives. So Rachel, welcome. How are you feeling?
Hey, I'm a little tired. I'm jet lagged today and hoping most people are checking out this podcast without the video.
Yeah. Turn off the video. You can do that on Spotify.
You don't have to see me.
No, you're great. We are both parents, so I totally understand where we are coming from. And I'd love to open up with a question to hear about your past. So what experiences shaped your understanding of specifically group transformation? Because I've been thinking about therapy as a one-on-one thing, trauma release, you go to a therapist or you do something just like one-on-one. And I've been hearing more and more that therapy is actually stronger and more potent when you're doing it in a group. This is like a new idea for me. So can you begin with your path in and the experience that shaped you to this understanding that you have about group transformation?
Yeah, it's thank you for this question, and it's super interesting. I don't have it formed yet, so I'm gonna try to talk it out and see. I went back to school to get my master's degree, and I went I wanted to be a sex therapist. So I was going in America to get what's called an MFT, like a marriage and family therapy license, and I was in university and having also still a profound experience because just going through all of the kind of psychology of human nature is profoundly transformative in its own way. And it got to the point where I had to really commit and go into supervision and go to a clinic and like take that next step. And I actually bowed out. I left the university. So I went through all the coursework, but I didn't complete. And I dove into my own exploration of being in group work. It all kind of happened at the same time. The intricacies of it are kind of beyond even my conception or my perception right now. But I just immediately went and dove into doing group work around relationship and healing, and everything made sense then. It was like, oh, right. And I just knew that context of being one-on-one with a client wasn't going to work for me in the long run. Like I didn't want to invest more time and energy, and just started, immediately going into group work. And it was kind of more of an intuitive understanding than even something scientific or provable or that someone had told me. It was just like my body, I feel it has just been naturally guided towards healing and spaces where that's happening. And that's a little bit of what's led me on this journey. I think every step has just been an intuitive, like, is this working or not? Is this something I believe in? Is this, what's the long-term value and investment? And slowly but surely I've gotten here, and I believe it all starts with that moment, even of deciding to go back to school to be a therapist, and then allowing life to re reconfigure around my desire for deep healing and transformation. Um, Yeah, so in some ways, the answer to your question for me is very personal. And it's like the personal piece is that, I've done a lot of therapy. And I think therapy, I don't want to say no one should do one on one therapy. I think it's super important, especially when you have specific pieces that you're working with. And I think there are moments and pieces that are too much, maybe start out bringing in groups. And I think there's pieces also that get revealed in groups that we then take to our one-on-one therapists. So I think that um, it's totally a valid path and way and method situationally. But what I've seen and what has happened in groups, both for myself, it can't be replicated one-on-one. It just can't. There's there is a there's this saying, if trauma happens in relationship, the only way for it to be healed is in relationship. And so, though we need kind of more real relationships than the dynamic of therapist and patient, to be able to take those steps towards healing some of the relational traumas and pieces that we inherit and that we're walking with. Um, so, yeah, maybe, hopefully, that's the answer. Maybe there's more there, but that's
No, this evokes like so many questions. So
yeah,
the first question that pops up: why specifically did you want to become a sex therapist?
yeah, that's another good question. You know, it was really interesting, actually. So what happened was, I I was in so I was in therapy. I was working with a therapist. I was going through a really hard time, like my one of my life crisis moments. And as I was in therapy, I was sharing with the therapist, about this thing of like human sexuality and tantra and relationships. It was all something that I did on the side. And as we were talking and as we were going through things, she said to me at one point in one of our sessions, you know you should be sitting in my seat. Like, why aren't you doing this work? And it was this crazy moment for me. I'll never forget. Like, I can even still see her sitting in her chair. I can still see myself on that couch. And it was like this riveting moment where someone saw me and saw my potential in a way that I wasn't yet willing to recognize myself.
Mm.
And she gave me permission, because maybe there was a part of myself that was like, who am I to be a therapist? I have all these problems. I'm going through all this stuff. And she was just like, you should be sitting here. And I was like, oh, all that stuff I've been doing on the side. I've been studying Tantra and reading books and having practice partners and diving into my own exploration of my human sexuality and why I am. And she was just like, no, you should be doing this. So I was guided a little bit through an actual therapeutic setting, to see myself and to see, like, this is what, she asked me, like, your library at home, your books, what are they? And they were all self-development, human sexuality, tantra, relationship. Like, that's all I would read. So that's how and why it was like, that's my fascination. That's what makes my soul kind of come alive and feel excited and curious to explore.
Do you have like a pain or that you're trying to relieve, like with that type of interest and personal development?
Yeah, yes, for sure. I mean, I think there's a few pieces. Like, one is, I was a very sexually curious child. I was like masturbating all the time and going to my friends' houses and trying to teach them to masturbate so we could do it together. Not like
Mm.
together, but like I'm gonna do it here and you're gonna do it here. Like we would just
Yeah,
do it.
yeah.
We're just like, this is playing. Like let's play together, And I remember going to church. My family was quite religious, and how much shame there was around sexuality and around self pleasure. And I remember just having these moments of like deep conflict of like, wait a second, like my parents are telling me this is the word. This is what I should be living my life around. But there's this thing that I'm doing that I love so much, and it brings me so much happiness and so much joy. How can that be wrong? And it was like, I mean, this was like, I was like 7 years old, and I was really
Mm.
contemplating this of
Wow.
like how can this be wrong? It was a real question I was with. And so I felt really unseen, I think, as a child, in who I was and how I wanted to explore and be, and didn't even feel safe enough to name or to express or put these pieces out loud. Like it was so not I was just like, I already know what I'm going to get back if I just say this. So I'm just going to keep this all here and inside, and find like, how can I, my question for myself was like, how can I get away from this, which is not at all reflecting back what I feel inside, and how can I get somewhere and find people who will reflect this back to me. um, so that was like one piece, the sexuality piece. And then there's a relational piece, which is just being a child of divorce. My parents were divorced when I was 6, and then they both remarried new partners who were both also already divorced with kids. And I had just a big, massive family of lots of kids and stepkids and half kids and parents. And it was just, and actually, what sent me to therapy was that when I was 6, my parents had both got divorced and remarried new people within a year. And then when I was like 24, they divorced the same year, those people. So what had been
Mm.
my family for almost 20 years when I was in my mid 20s ended. And then both of those divorces were just as gnarly, or not more gnarly, than my original parents' divorce.
Mm.
And so I was also with these deep questions of like what is family, and how can we love someone so much and create a life and children and then hate them, like really like hate them, despise them, not ever want to see them again, not be able to talk to them. Like how can these contradictions live within this umbrella of love? Like how is that even possible?
Mm.
So that also, sent me on the way. And then the last piece is just my when I was young and exploring, I had a big attraction to women, and I remember being turned on and curious about other women and girls, and how to explore that with myself and what that meant, and was so scared to even admit that because of the shame of being labeled as gay. So it was just another piece that I really kept repressed. So all of these pieces were kind of cooking inside of me, and they were my pain points of wanting my own freedom, like wanting my own full expression, and feeling really confined and limited by both like family ideas and culture and religion and society, to not be able to just at least explore those parts of myself that were like coming alive inside, to even find out what they were. There was so much repression. And yeah, so I think that's
I want to like spin on that. So, did you have like one session or one therapy thing or a breath work or whatever that got rid of that shame in your body, or was it like a long, long and a long job?
well, this is where the group work comes in, because what happened was, I went to my first. I was living in California, and I went to my first what it was called a snuggle party, but it's basically like a it was like a version, cuddle parties. but Snuggle Party was like Cuddle Party Plus. It's not quite like a sex party, but it's not just cuddles. It was like somewhere in between, an explorative space to cuddle and snuggle and explore. And being in that container and being with other people who were gay and queer and kinky and tantric and seeing like, oh, like I remember going to that event for the first time and I was like, yes, finally this, like, and just seeing what other people were doing and that there was just a permission field to play and explore, like that healed my shame. And actually just going
Mm.
there also, just like being like, okay, I'm in a triad with two people and I get to explore my desires now and my boundaries and what do I want here, and just like actually doing it. Like it wasn't
Mm.
about sitting and talking to someone about it, it was about doing it and then liberating myself from the fear of judgment. And so part of that journey for me has also been being quite public, actually, especially on like Facebook, and sharing all of this, and just being like, this is me, and daring to be seen in it all. And that has also, like, I think the reason I do that and the reason I still do that is because it's a total part of my healing journey, to just clear my own shame and to step into who I am. And part of the healing actually comes from other people being touched and feeling seen themselves and being like, wow, thank you for saying the things that I haven't been willing to say. And there's a completion in that for me, of being a voice that, yeah, that is liberated.
And when you started voicing this on Facebook, did you get criticism, and how did you deal with that?
Totally. Well, I went I went pretty like far off the deep end.
Yeah.
So when I was at this snuggle party, it was run by a married couple who were polyamorous, and I fell in love with them, and particularly the husband, but also the wife in different ways. And they were also on a kind of reality show, but it was called a docu soap because it was based actually on reality, whereas most reality shows are, fabricated, drama TV. This was like real. It was
Mm.
real. It was like a documentary, but it was dramatic. And I was like a guest on this show. And so I became quite public through that, like that media exposure and that opening myself up. The show was also considered, it was also very explicit. Like it showed us being intimate, and it showed sexuality and nudity, and it was a quite, it's like a married couple dating other people, and this was over 10 years ago. So
Mm.
it was also quite edgy, whereas today it's a little bit more maybe commonly known or even
Mm.
accepted. Then it was like no one knew. So of course, when I went from, you know, that was like a really extreme jump for a lot of people to watch me take. And of course I got, like, and everything from being a prostitute to being in a sex cult to, being a lot of the sex cult stuff. I think it's really interesting once you mix like sexuality and group stuff. People immediately go to their worst fears, which I think it has to do with cultish behavior. That was a big one. But since then, I think now I've kind of landed more. Um, like that was a big swing on the pendulum, and I think I've found a more centered place in it, and
Yeah.
I think people have landed with me in that. I hope.
Yeah. Yeah. But how did you deal with the criticism? But because you continued like
Yeah,
posting stuff on Facebook,
totally,
sharing yourself, being more
totally,
comfortable in your own skin, and
totally.
so like the old fears you had of being criticized coming from a Christian family, you have like that box of what is permitted and what is not permitted. So how did you like deal with that? Did you, because you were on that show, maybe that was like such an extreme thing to do that
Mm.
anything below that was like a walk in the park?
Yeah, it's true. I think that's one of the benefits of having done it that way. I kind of went
Took a leap of faith.
leap. And like, here's the other thing. How to say this? I notice that I struggle most with the feedback and criticism I get when it's about something that isn't me. So to say, the more me I am, the more like the more that there's something that's so like I feel so passionate, or it's like my heart's expression and it's like me coming through. I don't actually give a shit. When I'm
Mm,
in that place, like I don't care about people's criticism. I
mm,
don't care what people think. It's like this is me, and it is my most delightful, delicious thing, to be a human being and to find that access to my soul and to share that as art and to be received in that. I think like there is no greater, is one of the greatest experiences of being a human. And if someone criticizes that, like, I just don't care. There's like that. What I notice when I start like trying to share something about politics, or that's something that's like a mindy thing that's not really about me, then the criticism and the critique gets a little bit like I can start to notice myself get
mm.
more provoked or touched. So I actually just try not to do that anymore. This is like, this is me, this is my heart, this is who I'm here to be. And it doesn't really matter. Uh,
I believe you. Like, I believe that that is like the way to be immune to criticism. Like what you're saying is so beautifully that you put that in words. I haven't like phrased that for myself, but I totally believe that that's true. When you are from your heart, when you are like in your, what do you call, center, what you're what you're meant to do, and you are doing what you're meant to do. I think like criticism just like falls off. You don't even register that.
yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
amen to you.
Yeah. And I mean, for sure there's been moments like I think one of the other things that happen, especially with this docu soap, is that
Mm,
when you're editing something like that, there's there's it's a limited version of reality. There's a lot of, it's true, like the things that were recorded, the things that happened, everything was more or less true, but once they cut it down and sequence it and fit it into a little segment and whatever, it comes across different. So it's not it, when the viewers finally see it, they see something and they're relating to it, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's 100% truth, because it just can't be by the time it's gone through that. So what started to happen was there was a lot of criticism also around the show, or who I was or how I showed up. And I had to release the need that I was seen 100% as me, and be
mm,
grateful that there is now more like an avatar of Rachel, and that that avatar has a message, and that that message gets to live on around, this is possible. Free love, open relating, dating a couple, being like, that's possible. And my avatar gets to be a spokesperson for that. And then I need to release all the rest that wants it to be 100% authentically me, because that just wasn't possible. And that freed something as well, of like, yeah, maybe it's not fully me, or maybe you don't like that thing that you see, but does it provoke you, and does it inspire you, and does it make you think about the life that you're living? And that's what art does,
mm,
and that's, I want to be art. I want people to see and be inspired and think about their own life and how they're living, and if it is their truth, and if they're living that because that's really what they fucking want, or because it's some idea that's been passed down that we're just regurgitating and copy and pasting. That's, yeah.
yeah, I totally resonate with that. So, like, I could go in and ask questions about relating, open relationship. What is it all about? But I want to get to like the meat of this this episode.
Yeah.
So, I want you to explain what the field is, and how you first discovered this concept, and how you built this concept.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I've discovered it or built it, but yeah, I wouldn't take that much credit, but I'm definitely a firm believer and also like advocate. So basically, and this is, I just want to name also, so this is a quite radical gear shift for me from like there here, but it's okay, I can do it. Um, So I had actually a Swedish. I dated a Swedish man for, I don't know. It's hard to pick a number of years, but something like 7 or 8 years, and we ran a business for about 10 years called Embodied Intimacy, and that was group work all around embodiment, relating, intimacy, and kind of having that on both. We're working with the different aspects of self, of relationship, and of group. That those are pretty much the three different lenses that we're looking through with all of these pillars of embodiment, relational, and relational intimacy and community. And in doing that work, because it was so deeply embodied and relational, like these are two of the main aspects of what I believe is essential to build a field, the kind of fields that, I mean, there's many different kinds and theories of fields, but the kind that I'm speaking with. And something started to happen in that work where I started to realize that there was something so much bigger that was being orchestrated through the spaces that we were holding, that there were things that were happening that were mystical, and there was wisdom that was dropping, that was not attached to a teacher or a guru or a person. It was like things that were coming through us as a group being, and there started to be keys of unlocking this, and I started meeting other facilitators and putting pieces together, um and I decided that I wanted to lead a facilitator training around this kind and this style of facilitation. And that was actually when the name dropped, because before that, I didn't call it field facilitation. I just said it was, facilitation, embodiment, and relationship. And I was really, as I was kind of building the facilitator training, I was really like trying to distill this down. Like, what is this phrase? What is this that we're doing? And that was when field facilitation came in. And I would say now I'm in the process very much of really still building this body of work, because it's so big and it's so vast and there's so much there, and I keep meeting more and more people who have more and more keys and ingredients, and what I've also realized is that it's not just like second nature to everyone. That there are, like, most people are really like facilitation, the level of facilitation that they're on is really still at more of like a basic level of, oh, I have this idea and this concept, and I'm going to create my plan and my script, and we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this practice. And they're very much in a linear, transactional experience of creating a workshop based off of steps and getting a goal that then we reach. And it's like this. And I think this is totally valid. This is where we all start as facilitators. There's no way not to start there. It's essential to start there. That's step one. But the longer you're in this space, and if you're like me, I guess, you start to realize that there's something bigger happening here, and you can start to play that game instead. And for me now, that's field facilitation.
So so that is, I'm like, I'm still like a question mark,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
because is it, maybe because I'm dumb,
No,
but
no,
is it just like what happens will happen, and like the source, the field, the energies, like we gonna let the universe like create through us as vessels? Is that, am I thinking correctly, or is there no way to think correctly about this?
that is, you're correct, and I haven't fully explained it well. It wouldn't be, if you don't understand what I'm saying, it's not because you're dumb. It's because I haven't done a good job
Yeah,
of explaining it.
yeah, but I can just like speak about an experience at Ängsbacka, for example, when I was there on No Mind, the No Mind festival. I get the feeling that the energy around Ängsbacka is something special. Things are just happening magically.
Yeah.
But I also feel that in my private life when I'm
Yeah.
traveling around, just like, wow, this person just showed up. We got the same interest, or this opportunity, or this medicine lady just came to us in the exact right moment, or this issue happened which made us turn to the left, and the left way was the right way. Like, just like I can maybe call it grace. I have no idea, but for at Ängsbacka, for example, uh, I was just I had no idea what workshops I was going to. I got suggested to one, went there, had no idea what I was going to experience. It felt like a punch in the stomach. I got in contact with crazy emotion. I was like, "What is happening?" And then a couple of workshops after that, or a couple of days after that, I had a moment that I've been longing for so many years. That was to be able to cry in front of my wife.
Mm,
It haven't happened before because I wasn't trusting to be held in that way. And for me, that was just like a Uh, I still have the question: should men even cry with their spouse if they're in a heterosexual marriage? I still have that question, but for me, that was just like feeling her receiving me, even when I was broken down. I had that where I didn't need to be strong all the time, where I'm holding the energy, where I'm lifting everybody up, where I'm perceived as the strong one, the stable one, the one that carries everybody emotionally, physically, financially,
mm,
and all of that. So a lot of magic was going on. I
mhm,
would call that that is just my association with the word the field and from reading about your work.
mhm. Yeah.
So
So let me
just sharing that.
let me dive in some more layers. We'll see. We're just gonna. It's
We're
really
exploring. Yeah.
it's really hard to like confine it down to one definition. But basically, so an analogy that I give people when I'm explaining field facilitation, and there's like, so there's different things here. There's field facilitation, and then there's the field. And
Mm.
so, but I'm right now, I'm just speaking through the lens of also understanding what it means to facilitate in this way. So, like, if we're in a group and the group is sitting in a circle, I see that there's a spider web of interconnectedness between all the people in the circle, as if like everyone had, a string or an umbilical cord out and it was making a big spider web between us. That web of interconnectedness between us, which is very energetic and unseen for the most part, but you can also see it, is always there. You don't have to do anything for that to be there. Field facilitation is consciously working to light that web up and turn it on and support its strengthening, power, and coherence. So that web now goes from just being like gray or dark or white to like multicolored. And now we're all in a very alive, very um, living process. Like the field is alive, and that's the shift that I'm trying to support facilitators to make, to understand that this isn't just transactional. This isn't just us and them. This is like it's more of a we are the field, the bodies that are here in this time and space. We make up something that is a living, breathing organism. And I want as a facilitator to be in relationship with that. And if I come in with more of like an agenda of like, oh, this is what we're doing, and this is one, two, and three, also totally valid ways to facilitate and teach. Sometimes information and education comes that way, and it's great. We need to do that. But like my piece, what I'm fascinated about is more relational and more group, and it's more lighting that circuitry up, because what I've seen happen when that happens are the most deeply healing, profound, mystical moments, which I call like God. When these moments happen and I'm in a group and I feel like we're in the field and it's on and alive, I feel like I'm in church, or at least I feel the experience I was missing when I was at church. Like it's heavenly. It's like, and in these moments it's like I could die right now. This is just so
Mm,
beautiful and so meaningful. There's nowhere else I want to be. Like this healing, this moment is what I'm here for.
beautiful. Love that. I'm totally soft right now.
Yay.
Uh,
Yeah.
and on that, so is there a like when you teach facilitators, do you have them navigating the balance between holding space and allowing things to unfold naturally,
Yes,
or
that's exactly what we're navigating, because you can't just be feminine and in the chaos, because then there's no safety. But you can't just be in the rigid structure, because then there's too much rigidity and no one feels free to follow their impulses.
Mm.
So learning to facilitate in this way is really about learning how to use structure and aliveness, or and freedom, or masculine and feminine, or it's the marriage of these two parts. Like how much structure is needed to create safety and a container, and then where are the moments where we can let go and allow the field to move, to speak, to breathe itself. And how can we listen enough? Like listening is one of the key ingredients of this whole thing, is being able to listen and attune as the facilitator. And that's where you have to kind of let go of this rigid script and agenda of like your thing coming through, and then you lose that receptivity and openness to the audience, which also needs to speak, needs to be heard, you know? There's this dance. It's this amazing, beautiful feedback loop of a dance between facilitator and group. And that's really like, that's the sweet spot.
so I get that. And like if we go to the structure part, is there any form of like cue or result you are speaking of, like this is going to happen, but how you get there is up to you or the field or whatever, like the way you're going to choose to come there? And for example, this has to do with parenting, not like the field and facilitating work. Is like I dropped off my kid. He was going to school for his first semester. I was like, here you got 20 Swedish kroners, and when you get back, you need to have more money than I gave you. I didn't tell him how to get the money. I was just like, here is 20 kroners. Then I picked him up at school when the day was done, and he had 33 kroners. So he increased his money with over 50%. So how he did it, that's another story. But and also like I have like this these ideas or instructions that is like more of the like the rigid or the structured part within martial arts. I had a great martial arts teacher. He wasn't like showing you exactly the technique. He was like, just get that guy on the ground.
Mm,
So how I got there, I was like using basic wrestling skills without having trained in wrestling at that time.
mm.
So I like achieved like a certain result. Is are we like sim is do you have like a similar structure, or what is the ignition? What is the structure? Or what is the
Yeah.
like go call to action?
Yeah. First of all, I just want to say I really want to know how your son increased his money, but like,
I
you
can just say it briefly. He bought bananas at the restaurant, and they have like a 4-floor building. It's quite a small school, but they have 4 floors. So he took the fruit up to the 3rd floor where his classroom was, and he started selling it for a higher price. He was like, but why don't I go? But the kids were like, but I can go down to the restaurant and buy that. It was like, yeah, but then you would have to go down. Now I'm getting to you, and you can get it right now. So he was selling convenience basically.
oh
So
my
I
God,
was teaching him entrepreneurship without lecturing him. So
that's
he
amazing.
got the lessons himself. So we're homeschooling right now, and we're in Spain and traveling around in Portugal. But that
Super cool.
was his half year in school.
Yeah. Super cool. Super cool. What a cool guy. So, yeah. So, I mean, I think the way that I'll answer this is another analogy which I like to give,
Mm,
which is around music. So, a musician, like, when you start playing music, you don't just pick up an instrument and start jamming. You learn a song, right? So you learn a song and then you play the song and then you play it over and over again until you're really good at the song. And you're like, you can just pick up your, and then you learn another song and then you learn another song. And then at some point, as a musician, you can just play music. You can sit down with other musicians and they have their music and you can just jam and then new songs get created. They just come to life through you. This is field facilitation. At its
Mm.
best, field facilitators are facilitators who come together and they just jam. They play their instruments and new music comes alive. This is what I'm trying to this is what I love doing. This is
Mm.
like when I'm facilitating there, then it's like where I feel the most, yeah, happy, alive, inspired. It's just like there's a constant well of creativity and aliveness and collaboration and meaningfulness, and everything is touching and landing. And yeah, does this,
That analogy just like really hit home. That was like a home run.
say,
I really like that because that is what I see in like masterful teachers that they've been doing like Zen work, meditation, and then some breath work, and then they like combine it all together. So we
yes,
as you say, we are training on stuff in isolation first, and then we
yes,
are just like repeating it like the songs we learned how to play, and then we can be creative
yes,
with that, and then we can integrate or just like create
yes.
some new stuff.
New stuff comes. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the jam.
that's the jam. Love that. So I wanna know, like, now I'm a little bit like wearing the marketing hat.
Okay.
So what people, I'm not asking you a marketing question, but like
Yeah.
what people are drawn to like your festivals? So they must be feeling, okay, I want to find someone, or I want to just experience it, or I'm a yellow type of person, wearing a yellow hat, and I want just to explore new crazy things. So why why are people coming?
Mm,
Of course, you don't only have yellow people coming
yeah.
with that personality type.
I mean, there's a lot of different reasons why people are coming. And I guess I'm also, and you mean just around coming to a festival?
Yeah, yeah, coming to a festival or the facilitator training.
Yeah.
So what
Those
draws people to you?
yeah, those might be different. And I mean, people might be drawn to me for different reasons. So there's like on one hand, a lot of the work or all of the work that I'm doing is deeply relational and interpersonal and kind of, yeah, intimate as well, but I don't mean intimacy as in sexuality. I mean, intimacy to me is a whole spectrum. There's so many flavors and styles and
Mm,
kinds, but it's like the feeling of or experience of seeing and being seen in your most true, authentic you, you know? In whatever way that shows up. So there's a lot of people who are coming to me and my spaces because of the relational element of the kind of relating, the quality of relating that they get to do, which isn't really some way that you get to relate with people in a mainstream kind of general sense. Like there is a nourishment, there is a touchedness, there is a deep feeling of recognition, and a lot of people are coming for that. That could be one aspect. And then there's another, which is like maybe coming for the mystery, coming for the like that there's a space where we don't know, but we want to find out together, which invites more collaboration, creativity, and also where you like, I think people feel more important in these spaces. It's like that you actually matter. When you
mm,
come to an event or something where someone's teaching something and they're going to teach the same thing, no matter where their audience is or who their audience is, the audience doesn't matter so much. You're just receiving. You're getting something, but what you have to give doesn't it's not so important. In my spaces it is. The people who are there are an essential ingredient in what actually happens. their presence, their stories, their pains, their wounds, their intentions and desires completely contribute to the fabric of the space that we're holding. So you get to feel like I want to come to this space because I matter. Um, and then there's like the piece of just like group therapeutic transformation and healing. It's like that there's a quality of that they can't really find somewhere else, of like the deep, profound work that we get to do together as a group, and the emphasis and importance on the group nervous system, the group health, the group body, and like that experience of like the group soul coming to life before us.
Oh, beautiful, and that makes me curious because you've been doing this for a while. What are people reporting as some of the benefits or pain reliefs from coming to the festivals?
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite actually, and this is as a parent, is that people come and they go, wow, I didn't realize how much I was touched until I went home with my children and I saw what a different parent I am becoming.
Mm,
Like that one hits home every time. Um,
mm,
this is a big piece, but I think it's also like there is a there's like a growth in empowerment and confidence, because I think people become more themselves, and this goes back, you can only transmit the spaces that you have a direct connection to. So this, like, what touches me even now about what we're talking about, even going back to the beginning of this interview, I shared what these spaces did for me. I became more of myself. I became me. Like, that was my experience of coming into groups. So of course, that's the transmission my spaces are holding. It's a space to find tribe, to become more of yourself, to gain the permission field, to explore the parts of yourself that you've been dying to explore but haven't seen surrounding you, that you've maybe felt shame or embarrassment or unsure of. It's a place to like become the full expression of who your soul was here to be.
mm. Beautiful. And I want to paint you a scenario where someone is going to the field. They are like just like being seen. They are coming out of the experience. They have awakened somehow.
Mm.
Something has been dormant, which
Mhm.
has been like themselves, but they are just like you've seen this yourself, that the light switch just like comes
Yeah.
up in the eyes. I've seen this like so many times at different type of workshops and trainings, and that is like one of the most exciting things that I see even as a participant. I'm
Yeah.
not like a facilitator or a space holder of any sort, but that is what I feel like. That is so cool. If yeah, I don't care if it's a guy or a girl, but when the light switch, when their eyes just like you can see something right happen there, if it was in a breathwork session or a cuddle puddle or whatever it was,
Yeah.
but the scenario goes on. So the festival ends, they go back to their desk job or their family, and they were like, what happened to this person, this guy,
Mm.
this
Mm.
girl?
Mm.
And they are feeling like they're out of place, they are like an alien coming back. And I've had this experience myself, like looking back at my life and was like, who the hell is that dude, or what the hell is that life?
Mm.
So how do you integrate that? Or
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's your responsibility, but do you have any tips for people coming back feeling that they are like out of place
Yeah.
in their environment that they are going back to, if it's their family or their work or friend group or whatever it might be?
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. And of course, I don't want anyone like, I want everyone, one of my lines is like, I want everyone to leave better than I found them. And I get that that experience can be quite painful and also quite like jarring to have had this, peak experience and then, go back home to the reality. And I think on one hand, some of that is also good and healthy to be like, wow, I'm really not living the life that I want, like to confront that and be like, okay, what steps do I need and want to take so that things are different? I think this is an experience many people have when they come to these spaces, you know? And I don't think it should be now you're just stuck in a never ending loop of constantly chasing the next space. I don't think that's the answer. It would be very convenient for profit margins, but that's not what I'm suggesting. What I want is for people to change their lives, you know, like in whatever way that looks like. So I think at the beginning, it's really good to have like a community, to have to like, especially in your home or your town or your place where you live, to start finding other like-minded connections of people that you can relate to and who understand the experiences that you're having and who've had them themselves, and to start to talk and meet. And you know, I love people creating what they're most longing for, and I'll always encourage the hell out of that.
Mm.
You know, I like to encourage people at my events to find someone before they leave at the event who either lives locally to them, or that they've had a really deep connection with, and that they would want to keep calling and talking to, and have like a person that can keep reflecting them back in the way that they were just seen or met, that feels important or nourishing. And then to start locally creating that, you know, either to find other local people, to start your own local cuddle party, or you know, potluck dinner. It doesn't have to be like a crazy facilitation thing. It can just be like good people getting together and being good people. It doesn't have to be like a kundalini awakening breathwork session. It can just be
uh,
like, hey, can we all bring some food together and our kids and hang out and, you know, play at the park, or you know, or share gratitudes and appreciations for a few moments, because that really touched me at the festival I was just at. It's like, how can you keep proactively weaving these threads of importance and connection into your daily life? And you have to take a little bit of a stand for that, you know. And it's one of the pieces that I'm trying to break so much in these spaces, because people come and they're held so much, and sometimes can leave disempowered.
mm,
It's like, oh, that all happened because someone was holding me. I don't have the skill or the competence
mm,
or the ability to do that. So I try more and more in my spaces to flip this sense of empowerment by making myself as the facilitator less important. Like, I'm not the guru, I'm not the person who's responsible for your transformation. I love this phrase, self-led transformation. So I try as much as possible in my spaces to get it to the place where I'm just creating the conditions for transformation, but you're the one who's taking the step.
mm,
I'm not hand holding you through the whole process and then you get done and you're like, okay, cool. My next transformation will happen when I come to your space again. Like, no, I'm just showing you what the perfect conditions look like. You're the one making the moves. So then when you go out into your life, you still know that you're the one making the moves,
mm,
you know? And this is how I'm trying to support that integration, that it's not just a peak experience, but it's something everyone inherently knows that they have the ability and capacity to do for themselves. You know, our bodies want to heal. When we get out of the way, healing is a natural force. It happens on its own. It's
mm.
part of the cosmic joke, is that you don't actually have to do something to heal. You just have to be and allow. Um, so we all have that ability and capacity. It's not a special thing. um
So glad to hear you speak about that. That you are not anyone's guru. Everybody can heal by themselves. I got a little bit of an allergy for like guru worshiping.
yes.
So but I got like one last question.
Mm,
What inspired you to have the field festival to come to Ängsbacka? What
mm,
inspired this collaboration?
yeah. It's a great question. You know, I have a trouble remembering exactly the sequence of how things happened. um, what I think the original piece was is that the original inspiration was that Inksbaka was inspired to have the field facilitator training come there. And I think that's how it started first. And part of the field facilitator training is that the like what makes this facilitator training different is that we actually run an event together,
Mm.
because I got really allergic to these spaces where we're doing facilitator training and it's all kind of role play, or you're practicing with your peers and there's an element of it that's not fully really real. And I felt like if we're actually working with the field, it all has to be real. Like it actually has to be people, and we actually have to be doing that. So each year of the field facilitator training, the group has put an event on together. And
Mm.
so it was like, what a perfect place we can put an event on, and we can put a festival on at Inksbaka. So that was how that came to be. But then it kind of like went a little bit bigger and became, when I think the collaboration between me and Inksbaka and them really understanding what it is that I'm a holding point for. And the thing that's the most exciting to me, as you were speaking about Inksbaka before, Inksbaka is a field. Like Inksbaka already has a very deep, profound field of alive transformation and beauty and oneness that's there. I mean, they have, I'm sure, all the other issues that also most communities have. There's, politics and drama and things, sure. But what's happened is usually I'm going to a retreat center and it's empty or there's a few people there, but there's no field. So we're literally creating the whole thing every single time we come, and that's quite a lot of work. And where I'm like so freaking excited is that this will be the first time that I'm running this kind of event at a place where there's a living, breathing, existing field, and just getting to come in and like the elevation of what that is going to be and do is super special for me. I was just at Inksbaka for the New Year's festival, and I was just walking around the whole time, like, yes, yes, this is the
Mm.
place. It's going to be so good. Because, yeah, what is happening there, and what has been happening there for years and years and years is so um, beautiful and so important and so on point exactly for this. So there's a mutuality in, I think, the aliveness and timeliness of what I'm bringing, and the foundational support and also communal deepening that Angsbaka has. We're a really perfect match for each other right now.
Mm. So cool to hear that. So I've been speaking to other facilitators, and they are like sharing similar experiences,
Mm.
and it's such a cool place to be at. And I I was lying when I said that was the last question. Can I get one more?
Totally fine.
so,
You don't have to say the last one. You can ask as many.
yeah. So I'm so curious because you're a mom now to a
Yeah,
little girl, right?
yeah, I have a daughter, and it's 3.5.
Yeah, and you have a daughter, and community is like such an important uh, topic or aspect when raising a kid. You're like, for now, for example, you're getting help by your from your mom to take care of the kid while you're podcasting. I'm
Yeah.
having my wife now taking care of my three kids, and so how do you see like, not, I don't want to say the word perfect, but what do you see a really great environment to raise a kid in, and to
Mm.
be have some sanity left for yourself,
Yeah.
and also having like the support emotionally, physically, mentally, financially to grow up, to have a kid to grow up in, because we've been really wanting to have more of a community. That's what we're looking for right now. Leaving Sweden for a while, being in Portugal, trying to get that together. So, what do you see is like a great scenario or a great setup to have a kid with?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very good timely question. You know, I didn't expect to have a child this life. It was a little bit of a surprise, but I always was moving towards being in community. That was just easy. It felt right to me. And then when I did end up having my daughter, me and her father moved actually to Portugal also, but to an island to start community. We were just like, okay, this is what we have to do now. You know, it's the city life is over and it's time that we take this next step. And we really fought really hard to make that work. And it, unfortunately, both our vision and what we were holding didn't work, but also our romantic relationship didn't work kind of at the same time. And it
Yeah.
all dissolved. So
Pancake.
yeah. So I'm now back in Berlin, living in an apartment alone for the first time in my life ever.
Wow.
Adult. I've never lived in an apartment alone. And it couldn't be the worst situation for raising a child, actually. I'm like so deeply distraught at a particular level in myself of like, how did I get here and how is this happening? And this is so not the life I wanted for myself or my daughter. So I'm really right now, I'm so connected to what doesn't work and what can't work. Like it's so not fair to her and to me the way that we're living right now. Um, and you know, at the other hand, there's also I also have a very sober view on community because it's also not easy, and we're actually
No.
also we're not in any way like I think human beings are more we've more evolved into being these separate individual isolated bubbles of family units even than we have you know there's like everyone's like yeah community and that's where we were and that's how we're supposed to live and I'm like yeah but we haven't lived like that in so long and most communities when people come together to create them you end up getting an initiation in how fucking hard it is and there's
Mm.
usually some disillusionment phase that comes in that process as well. So I'm really actually sitting in the like not knowing place right now. I really
Mm.
don't know what the answer is. I really see that both are hard, that both aren't working. You know, I think if I had like the most biggest dream, it would be like more of a village. You know, like
Mm.
people who have their family units and their family spaces, but that are also held within a greater whole.
Mm.
Um, and I just don't know practically how, you know, there's so many elements of the finances and the land and the structures and the, you know, it's complicated. But I'm like what I'm willing right now to do for myself is to sit in the not knowing. Like I don't know the answer. I don't know what the right next step is. I don't have yet this like picture of the vision. Right now I have a lot of looking at the ashes and the compost and the, you know, the darkness of what I see not working and I'm trusting that the more that I keep just being in relationship with that, not knowing that what is supposed to emerge will have a chance to grow from the ashes, from the soil of what hasn't worked yet. You know, I think there's a new moment coming and I'm open to that revealing itself without having all the answers.
Thank you for being so honest and transparent, and also like sharing how you sit in that discomfort or in that situation, having the faith and belief that something good will come out of it, or the right answer would have said. So my take on that is, like, I read the book. I recommend this book to all parents. I love this book so much. I got it recommended to me by my brother-in-law, and it changed so much in our parenting style. Of course, we're not perfect. We still like get like wired up, and we are not like in connection with our peace of mind and being able to like hold a greater space for our kids. But that said, is the book Hunt, Gather, Parent.
Mm.
So the back of that book got me so fascinated when it said like 99.99% of all of human existence have not been the nuclear family. So it's hardwired for us to be more people. And
Yeah.
I can also recall, because I'm half Swedish, half Egyptian. So every summer, my mom took us down to Cairo. Even if you had like the nuclear families, the attitude, the mindset, or how we acted was not nuclear family. So the
Mm,
neighbors were our family. We ran over to the neighbors. I was taking care of my aunties, my older cousins,
mm,
guys on the streets, the guy that sold food on at the corner. Like everybody's just like, it's a whole mess. It's a hot pot
mm,
of love and connection and interaction when you could go to Cairo. I fucking love that place so much, because
mm,
it gave me the sense that we are all connected. We are all family. I like grew up with that. I'm so
mm.
appreciative of that. And if my mother would have raised me by myself, I would been a bigger nut job than I'm already am. So I'm so happy for my aunties that are like more on the
Oh,
sane spectrum than my mom is. I love her to death. She's the coolest woman on the planet. But uh, that is what I'm taking with me from my upbringing, but also
yeah,
from this book. So she's going around the world interviewing indigenous people, and from that lens looking at how we Westerners are raising our kids, and it's freaking weird how we are raising our kids.
yeah, yeah,
So some form of community or tribe, or even just call it neighbors for what it
yeah,
is, just getting that help
yeah,
has been like a key factor for us. And as a Swedish person, it's super hard for many of us, I'm generalizing of course, to just like ask for help. Like,
yeah,
could you just like shop for us a couple of things at the store so I don't have to go?
yeah,
Or can you just like, can our kids play with your kids just 30 minutes or a couple of hours or whatever, instead of me like turning on the TV or whatever to entertain them, which
yeah,
will give me even more headache later.
yeah,
So just like asking for help and getting
yeah,
to know what you were saying about like transitioning from the field experience and then going back to home, just connect with somebody that is in the same situation, in the same awakened space of mind, or whatever you want to call it.
yeah,
So connection, that if I would do anything differently after having with the, what do you call it, the receipt in the review mirror, that is to create a community first,
yeah,
and then, but now we are trying to create one or get to one or just find some, whatever wherever it takes. But it's such a big word. It doesn't have to, and what you're saying is totally right as well. Like it has drama, it has conflict, like having a community, but having your own home, your own space, you can shut the door. You don't need your neighbor like sleeping on your couch, eating your chips and potatoes. I'm not talking about that type of community. We're sharing wives and spouses. No. You can have that as well if you want to. It's free up to the community. But you
yeah,
understand what I'm getting at.
yeah.
So
Thank you for this. I love even the expanded definition, and yeah, thank you for opening up that there are many other kinds of ways of living that are beyond the nuclear family that are also already happening very much in places in
mm,
today's world, where I'm maybe not journeying that much at the moment. But thank you for opening up my my perception a bit. And yeah, I'm really with you in this and cheering you on, and also myself. And yeah, I'm very clear it doesn't work to be isolated and alone, and it's very unnatural, and we need to come together again, for our children.
yeah, for our children. I think also for our own sanity's sake, because
Right.
I remember just the first week of our firstborn, my wife said like, "This is not normal," and
No.
and you know the firstborn, this was like a walk in the park compared to what we are experiencing now. So she was
Yeah.
like, "This is not normal," crying her eyes out. And I was like, yeah, I know this is not normal,
Yeah.
but yeah, we need to find a solution to this. We need to do something about it. So
Yeah.
yeah, But cool to share this with you, because that is, I'm so passionate about parenting and like building a community. And that is also what I feel with Ängsbacka is a beautiful place to take part of a community that are on a mission to heal themselves and heal the world. I totally love that. I was so excited that you're going to come this summer in August. Can you share the dates and how to sign up for the field?
Yeah, yeah. So the Field Festival is August 15 to 20 at Ängsbacka. Really excited. And tickets are already on sale. There's only 30 early bird tickets, and I think
Yeah,
we've
a
already
few.
sold.
Yeah, a few left. I haven't checked
Yeah.
on the back end, but there is a few early bird tickets.
So if you want an early bird ticket, act now. And yeah, so that'll happen August 15 to 20. And then the field facilitator training will launch at the beginning of October and run for 1 year. So the field facilitator training is 5 week-long modules that starts in October 2025, and it will end in August 2026 for the next field festival.
Cool. And how can people connect with you, find you online?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm like on social media, I'm the best on Facebook, but I also have LinkedIn and Instagram. And you can just look my name, Rachel Rickards. And then I have a website, rachelrickards.com, but also the-field.com. Ah, and I'll be in Sweden. Also, we didn't even talk about this, but I have a 2 week intimacy summer camp every year in Sweden. This will be like the seventh or eighth summer I've been there.
Mm.
It's south of Stockholm at Skeppsudden. And
Sjödön,
yeah,
legendary place. Yeah,
very
yeah.
nice. So for 2 weeks, I'm there with 80 people doing summer camp, and it's a blast. This is for people who are coming more for the relational intimacy aspects, and that's
Mm.
July 14 to 27. And we're about almost halfway sold out already, which is also
Yeah.
awesome.
So you're going there as a couple or a single?
Single, well, singles and couples, anyone can come.
All right. All right.
I
Cool.
never teach couples only spaces. Usually, it's all always open to everyone.
All right. Beautiful.
Yeah,
So cool. So cool,
yeah.
Rachel. And I'm excited for the summer, and I'm excited of what's going to happen with your apartment in Berlin.
Yeah, thanks. Me too. I'm hoping I won't be there for long, but for now, that's where it's at.
Yeah. Awesome. So
Thank
talk soon and see you
you
soon.
so
Thank you
much. Yeah.
for all your knowledge and wisdom and all the nuggets I got from this conversation.
Yay.
Awesome.